Marcus Rashford had an interview with Players Tribune. Came out with some quotes and some speeches around people questioning his identity, his commitment to United, and all that. I really don't give particular attention to the details of whatever he said, but there was a conversation, and this thing has been bugging me. There was a conversation around the timing of his interview, and there's this notion out there that if you are a sportsman, if you are not getting good results, don't speak about your frustrations. And so people said, oh, yeah, it would have been great if he was on form, he was in form, and then he granted this interview. But he's not in form, he's not playing, so he shouldn't grant this interview and he shouldn't be speaking about the way in which people are just judging him and bastardizing him. And I'm wondering, is that really a fair requirement on sportsmen? Because we are the same people who come out and come and say, look, these guys are equally humans. They are not robots. Their mental health is important. The ability to express things that keep them down is important. And they get affected in one way or another by some of these things that emotionally drain them and mentally kick them down. Why do we need to place a performance timeline on when somebody is able to vent out frustrations that are actively breaking them down piece by piece within their daily experiences? I don't know whether it's a sensible thing within the sporting arena. And for me, I think it's time we just stop placing timelines on people's ability to talk about some of these bad experiences that they have.
Yeah, like even for, I mean, like when we started the Shafts podcast, we sort of saw more that people were a bit more open after they had left the space, because
Yeah,
I think there's some wisdom to it that how you speak and act whilst you are in the sport affects how you are seen and you are judged tomorrow. But I also do think that players need to have the freedom to be able to say what they want to say. Like Dele Ali came out quite recently and spoke about the level of abuse that he was facing. You
yeah,
just and the things that he had been through, and you just wonder how someone like lives
yeah,
these things. But I feel like it affects the way you are judged. Some people don't speak about things because they don't want to be perceived in a certain way, and I think it's up to you and how you want to be seen. But I think these are some of the most important times where they need to speak. If you are doing well, what do you have to speak about? Your message is almost the same, and you
yeah,
almost are more reflective when things are not going well. So I think he's right to start speaking out for himself, because this is it. This is the time. This is the time when you are done with the sport and you are gone. No one remembers. People have
yeah,
moved on, and like I was saying, fans are very, very, very fickle. Fans will say anything, but go back to their daily lives. But this is your life. You can't escape from it, and you
yeah,
just have to constantly. And I'll just use this opportunity to say that, like, the level of abuse which is leveled at some of these players is nauseating. And if you're a
yeah.
fan, yeah, like, I mean, I get it. We all throw, make some jokes and things like that, but we also have a responsibility to make sure that we think of them as humans and as people who also go through these situations and not rid ourselves of the empathy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, generally, I when I heard those comments, because Rio Ferdinand, for instance, said, "Oh, it's a bad time for him." Rio personally, when he was playing, if he's not doing well, he shuts up. If he's doing well, then he start talking. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. You don't put a timeline. What if his form, he never regains his form? Is that a line to bottle up every single negative experience that he's having in there? And of course, we pay them to put up performances, but in the end, they can't escape being human. They can't escape the emotional and mental reaction that they go through to some of the things that are said about them. And if you listen to the interview, he's made very life defining decisions around commitment to Manchester United. And so for people to question his commitment to the club
Yes.
was one thing that hurt him to the core. He didn't really mind about you chastising and analyzing his every hand through or whatever it is, but it was about the conclusions of it, that if he throws his hand, it's not that he's playing poor, is that he's no more committed to the club, was one that really hurt him because he had made life changing decisions around his commitment to United. And people should be able to express those disappointments in some of the comments that are put out there
Yeah.
about him, about them, so that at least mentally they are free within that space. Yeah, this has been an amazing episode talking through a lot of things from Arsenal through to Liverpool, Man City, down the way to on the low United with the strangest formation I've seen in my life, a 4-2-4-0. Down to Erasmus's dying club, which is in the grasp for air and resurgence and false nostalgia around Tuchel, down to the mentality of players and why they should be allowed to speak up in their most traumatizing moments, regardless of their performances. This has been a really amazing episode. Erasmus, I hope you enjoyed the discussion.
Up the Chelsea.
This up the Chelsea was the same thing you said before before
Yeah, we are
clubs
playing tonight.
give
And then
you
if we lose again, then probably I'll stop speaking about Chelsea in this one. Because maybe that's the jinx.
if you lose again, I'll just come back with more truths. This time around, I'm going to analyze you guys and come back with more truths about your play.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
Just
was it was a really amazing episode.
yeah, just to say there's no expectation for tonight. Like people are just man, like look,
Yeah,
the season
it's the hope that kills, Chile. So at some point,
yeah.
you just have to stop hoping. Stop hoping. Now, when you die, you deaf. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining in on this episode of the Beer Parlor. We'll see you on the next one with some much more interesting discussions. Hopefully, we hope to have some detailed conversations around Klopp's legacy, his likely replacements, and some much more juicy conversations around the English Premier League. See you on the next one.